Oh, top of the morning to you. I don't know where the hell I am. We're not in Wisconsin anymore, so I can't talk like this no more, you know? But hey, I can talk to you about fall. And if you love a spinnerbait, you're gonna love this video, because fall, spinnerbaits, yeah, but it's not a spinnerbait, eh? Bros and broettes, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for all the nice words that you had for me when I was up in Wisconsin, feeling like total crap. Not a perfect trip, but it turned out pretty good, and a lot of that's thanks to you and your support, dude. You guys are really nice about it. I wouldn't give me that much sympathy, I'll tell you that much. But today, we're gonna chat. We're out on Lake Gunnersville. It's late fall, you know, it's about to get super duper cold, and it's tough fishing, dude. Fall is definitely a tough time of year, and one of the top baits this time of year is a spinnerbait like this guy right here. This is actually a little Berkeley. It's a mini little 3/8 ounce spinnerbait, but any spinnerbait that you like catches fish because the bait's balling up. I personally like a tri-blade spinnerbait, something like a Ninja Spin. D&M Custom Bait makes one like that. But the more flash, there's all these little shad. Even if you don't have shad, I even notice in Wisconsin there's all these little like glass minnows and these little tiny minnows, and they get balled up and they get high. They get next to creeks, next to ditches, next to grass lines, and if you're not throwing something that mimics that sort of school of bait, the fish just won't give you the time of day. So I'm gonna show you a little rig that, now hold your breath. Now, a lot of you guys hate an A-rig, and for good reason, dude. It's like throwing a chandelier underwater, dude. It's heavy, it's weighty, it gets hung on everything. It's kind of an annoying way to fish. But I'm gonna show you a little mod rig that is a lot more manageable. It catches a ton of fish, and actually any kind of fish. You know, I love bass fishing, but it'll catch walleye, it'll catch northern, it'll catch white bass, it'll catch perch, it'll catch all kinds of things. And it's a lot easier to cast, and it's something that you can pick up and throw all day. So hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna show you a little spinnerbait mod rig, or an alternative to your spinnerbait fishing that you might just like, and definitely will catch you some fish. Whoa. Haha, we got two boys. Oh, one come off. It's the coolest part about fishing an A-rig. It's catching doubles, except when they come off. Dude, that's a lot of fish. Oh, bigger one too. Bigger ones always seem to eat the middle, which is kind of interesting. That's why sometimes I'll put a bigger bait on the middle. Big spot. Bro, that is a great giant big spot. Check out that spot, guys. That's a 2.5, 3 pound spot. So a rig that I really like this time of year, because I love throwing a spinnerbait, but sometimes you just need to mimic that ball of bait. This specific rig right here is the Picasso Finesse Schoolie rig. It's a 5-hook rig. You can see there's blades on it, but it is about the size of my hand, pretty much. It's a much more compact presentation. It's much more finesse. The clips on it are a little bit more finesse. What I do with it is, a lot of times these fish are focused on little tiny baits. I actually put little tiny swim baits on it. So these are all 16th ounce except for 2 1/8 ounce. I'm fishing this in anywhere from 8 to 12 foot. If I was fishing it shallow like we talked about, maybe more that 3 to 6 range, they'd all be 16th, or I'd swap in like 3 1/16, and then maybe some of those resin heads. But little 2/0 hooks. These are what's called a TZ swim bait. It's basically that Big Easy Gambler swim bait. It's a full body swim bait, but it's got a little tiny tail on it. It's about 3 inches, 2.9 inches. You know, a 2.8 Kitech. Any kind of small, even minnow style baits. A lot of the little like sonar baits, like the FF series from Gambler, the Yum FF sonar minnow. They don't need to have a tail. That's one thing that guys like don't know, is you don't always have to have a tail. And if you'll notice on this TZ, the tail on it is like the size of your, I don't know, your pinky fingernail. It's super small. One little trick that I'll do with this guy, and I don't have it on this one, but a lot of times your bigger fish will bite that middle line basically, and I'll put like a 3-inch or a 4-inch bait on that middle one. What it does too is it gives some ballast to the rig. But the whole concept behind this thing is I'm throwing this on a 7.5 medium heavy KS 2 Elite. This is, you know, maybe a little heavier than your standard medium heavy, but it's pretty light rod, pretty standard bass operating procedure rod. I got 20-pound Seagull red label on it and a 721 SLX. Like literally I could take this rod and throw a Texas rig worm on it or a Carolina rig too. It's not a super heavy rig. And what's nice about that is it allows me to make like little roll casts. It allows me to be super accurate, and allows me to put this thing maybe next to a dock or closer to cover than I could with that big chandelier rig. It also allows me to manage the depth. It's not sinking like a brick, you know, it's not this huge weighty thing to cast. It's almost just like an open hook spinnerbait. Now, immediately the downsides on these compared to a spinnerbait is it's not nearly as weedless or snagless through wood. There's no doubt about it. One little trick that you can do if you do hang one of these jokers on wood or on some kind of cover, there's a lot of weight, even though this thing is kind of light, on this thing. What you do is you go up and you get vertical over it, and my buddy Caleb from Bass Quest taught me this. You go up and get over it, and you basically kind of snap your line, kind of like you do when you're away from a target, but you snap your line and that weight will fall back, and oftentimes it'll back it off of whatever it's hung on. But the real art to this thing is that you can throw it just like you would a spinnerbait in practically any place other than wood that you throw a spinnerbait. It rips really well out of the grass. It's a lot more manageable, and you're still getting that bait ball effect, but you have a lot more efficiency and ability to throw that thing just about wherever you want to. One of the biggest questions I ask myself this time of year is to blade or not to blade. So you can see this rig itself has blades. This is, once again, Picasso finesse schoolie rig. I will default to blades 90% of the time. There's a couple exceptions. The reason I like the blades and the reason I like it on the finesse rig is they're very tiny. So they're not super duper flashy. Sometimes I'll get the black blades. This comes with like a sort of a black nickel coated. That darker blade, especially if slightly stained water, or if your water's super clear and you want to tone down that flash, is excellent. Or you can take like a permanent marker and just color it. It won't stay on there forever, but you kind of wipe out some of that flash. Or you can take a little piece of steel wool or very fine grit sandpaper and just sand it parallel and then sand it horizontal. Basically what it does is it gives it kind of a scaling pattern. A little sneaky tip for you. But the biggest thing that kind of like makes me choose between whether I'm going to use blades on an A-rig or not, one, is it cloudy, is it sunny, is there chop? If there's chop, if it's cloudy, I'm definitely going to run the blades because I want some more flash, I want some more water displacement. If I have stained water, definitely going to use the blades. I want more water displacement. There's sort of a window this time of year. A lot of you guys catch them on top water for a little brief period, you know, as that water cools, everything gets really high towards the top. Sometimes they won't commit to that top water, and burning an A-rig, much like you see me do with a spy bait, where you're taking this thing, you're bombing it out. Maybe you're using your forward-facing active target 2 to identify where they're at, or you're just seeing them schooling. You're bombing it out and burning it back in. When I have the blades, when I'm doing that burning retrieve, it will cause the bait or the rig to sort of like purge the surface. So it makes the bait rise too much where it's actually coming to the top and then just washing out. So I'll take the blades off then, because the other thing too is if they're schooling fish, I know they're sort of like near that top end. I really want them to get a hook, and what you'll find too is sometimes these fish will swipe at the blades when you have it on there. So I'll use a naked rig when I'm burning that thing, or if the water is so supremely clear that like I really think the blades are just too much, where the water's calm, kind of like today actually, where the water's super flat and you almost get the impression like it's too much flash, it's too much bling, and the fish just are like, hey bro, that looks really cool, but I'm not that stupid. I'm not telling you it's going to replace a spinnerbait, but if you are on fish and you see them following your spinnerbait on your forward facing, or if you know there's a bunch of bait around and you're not getting bites on that spinnerbait, you see them surface, you can't catch them on a fluke, you can't catch them on a spook. That A-rig catches fish when no other bait will. It's a real weird deal when that bait is balled up, whether it's minnows, shad, whatever you have on your lake in that fall to late fall period, and you just can't get them to bite. That A-rig will close the deal. I'm not saying it's going to light the world on fire, but to go from no bites to getting 5 bites and weighing in at the scales makes a big difference in sort of making your day worth it out there and sort of delivering. But hit that like and subscribe button for me. If you guys got any A-rig tips or any little tweaks that you do, drop them down in the comments box. Guys are always reading it for tips. Thank you guys for the support, and once again, thank you for all the nice words when I got sick. Hopefully we're all back to 100% and we can go catch some bass, especially as we move into winter. It's one of my favorite times of year. There's like nobody on the water. It's freezing, and the bigs, they bite. Later, boys.